Welcome, survivors, burnout community, and those just interested. It's Kelly Bupoltz, trainer, author, speaker, and your burnout prevention mentor. Burnout is not taboo. It's our reality in this chaotic, fast-paced world. But we're not going to let it drive the narrative to our stories. We're going to do something about it, so let's dig in. There's a few videos out on this channel that goes over one-on-one meetings, and from an HR professional of 2 decades, I have found that leaders are afraid of conflict, or they want to avoid the possible response that might come out of their employee. We're not sure how to give that constructive feedback in which behaviors need to change. And so check out the other one-on-one meetings with impact videos out of my channel that will give you some value add questions or techniques to address that healthy conflict in which you can maintain the relationship or even grow it. This video is going to be on specific work style questions that you can ask that hit them where their natural tendencies are. This video is going to be about the one-on-one meeting conversations or questions that you can have specific to the work styles on your team. I do want to emphasize that you should have DISC assessments in your organization before you apply some of these questions, because your interpretation or perception of what their work style is might be a mismatch. And now you're going down a rabbit hole in which you're de-energizing both of you versus engaging energy and increasing that rapport. So understand the work style through this data behavioral science tool before you apply these questions. Once I know one of my team members is one of these work styles, here's a few questions that you can apply. When I work with clients on this behavioral science to engage energy and productivity while preventing burnout, there's a whole toolkit that not only includes more one-on-one questions like this to enhance the communication on your team, but it also has job matching, interview questions for candidates, how we can be more productive in our meetings, and then how to approach healthy conflict when work styles aren't getting along. So let's dig into some of the one-on-one questions from one of these packets that might be useful in your upcoming one-on-one meeting in which the door is closed, you are focused on the conversation, it's not a pass-by type of question. So I would consider these value add. And what I mean by value add is it's not tactical. It's not about the operation. It's about how your relationship can grow to each other, where you can support them better as a leader. And the important factor of these questions is follow through. Whether you can do the action that they're asking or not, the important part is having this conversation and following through with the action you are going to take, whether you can or you cannot, or continuing the conversation. You do not have to act on every question or request that comes in from your team member. And that's an important tool that we talk about in our leadership mastermind group is what can you do and responsibilities do you have as a leader, and what is going to be your boundaries and how are you going to respond to that? Again, healthy conflict conversations. So let's dig into a few of these one-on-one questions that are going to level up your meetings when trying to really dig into who are your employees, what motivates them, and how can you remove the hurdles so they can be more productive without exhausting themselves. So let's talk about Ds. Ds are very fast-paced and they want results. They are goal-oriented. They're very decisive. And they are moving forward in a way that's going to get them a result. A great question to ask these fast-paced, results-oriented people is, what barriers do you currently have that are making this process slower than it needs to be? What actions could we take together or as a team to speed up that process? When I've had clients go out and ask this question and then come back to me on what was the result, it was interesting that successful or dysfunctional pass-offs was often a barrier. So when I say successful pass-offs, they were able to meet the result in the time that they wanted. Ds move very fast, so that's pretty impressive. The dysfunctional pass-offs is people weren't using the system, which is often actually the D behavior, not the other person's behavior. The other dysfunction that comes up is communication, that someone actually had it done and never responded back to a D, so they're waiting, they're getting mad, and the action's actually already done, but the person didn't communicate back, or your systems are not automating notifications back to a D that the next step is ready. So I see this a lot in sales type of people or project managers that move fairly fast. And so they need information flow back for an effective pass-off. But understand when Ds are getting frustrated with the barriers in their goals because of other people's behavior, really ask that investigative questions. And as you ask that investigative questions, you will find out some of the behaviors are the D's responsibility, that your team member is actually causing the dysfunction. So do you see where you can dig into the root cause of dysfunctions in your organization through these value add questions? So the question of what barriers are you seeing and how can we remove those so that you can work faster or meet the needs of the pace that you want? You can dig into some of those operational hiccups and not only support D, but also guide them in different paces of work styles. That's a great question to ask a D work style in your one-on-one meeting. Now, I's are our social bunnies. They are the social butterflies, as you say. They thrive in being around other humans and other human behavior. They enjoy understanding and exploring how people work and learning through that. So a great question during one-on-ones is there any coworker or client relationships you would like to strengthen this year? And what that's doing is showing you who they're seeing as mentors, maybe a directional path they want to go in their career, or skill sets that they want to learn, because they will want to learn from other humans over maybe a course or an online class. So asking that question really helps you with a development plan. And as an I myself, I didn't realize that I actually thrive with mentors over courses. So I would go to clinics and conferences and take classes, and that was great for my skill set, but I felt like it was just a thing. It was just a thing that I learned. And then I would have mentors I would meet in those courses, classes, and conferences, and I would thrive. I would energize after talking to them. I would be excited to follow up with them after I took the action that I learned. It was that relationship building that re-energized me. So when you can guide and coach your team members specific to their work style, you can actually help them in their growth and development plan so that they're not only learning, but they're thriving in the energy that's natural to them. So I's, how can you strengthen, what relationships do you want to strengthen both internally and externally, maybe with clients or suppliers? That's a great I one-on-one question for your next meeting. Let's move on to S's, which is our supporters. So they are very much your dependable, supportive group members in which they're there. Right? When you need them, they're there, but they're not going to be pushing the narratives forward. They're not going to be pushing change management initiatives. So what questions do you want to ask them right now in an ever-changing world where not only processes are changing and softwares, but product is changing, people are changing, would be what is going to be stable? And a great question to get there is, where would you like to see more consistency? So that could just open up the discussion to processes. We continually change our processes. It's exhausting. People, our turnover is insane, and all I'm doing is training. I'm not actually doing work. Is it product that every time I come up for air, we're releasing a new product? Like what do we even provide as an organization? What do we specialize in when we're doing everything? Those are the type of answers that have come out when you ask that question to an S. Is where do you want to see more consistency? And what you're doing is you're establishing support back to them that there are some things that can stay the same. There are some things that can be stable where they thrive and be consistent. How can we get there? So opening up that question will not only support that specific team member, but you will see the dysfunction coming out from too much change. And when we go through change management, that's an important factor when we do the stakeholder analysis, is those that fight change, those that don't like to change too fast or too much. And when we do that, you will see S's kind of hitting that barrier, holding people back, holding the team back from change. And you really have to stop and ask yourself, are we changing too much? What is going to stay the same? What is going to be consistent? Because you're going to lose people along the way, and it's going to increase your turnover and disengagement. So supportive is a great question to not only support them, but explore the dysfunction that might be coming out of the cracks in your operation as change continues. Is what do you want to see more consistent in your job, in the team, in our processes? Now let's move to our last work style, which is compliance. And I just always go through DISC, as DISC is spelled, DISC, but there's no chronological order to which one's more important, which one's more effective. You actually need all four to have a very effective, productive team. They all bring value and strengths. So when you go to a C, the first thing I want to prep you with is you should have an agenda for your one-on-one. They want to be prepped. They're reflective just like S's, and they will bring details and data to the conversation. Now, C's will want to go tactical because they don't want confrontation. They don't want to take that risk without details, data, facts. So when they're bringing that into the conversation, honor that information that they're bringing, but also try to get deeper with this value add question. And a great one to start with, again, during changing times is, do you have the data and resources to do your job effectively? Because C's literally step forward and will continue to step forward and push the narrative and close the gaps as long as they have the right data and details and information to do it. You take away that, or you change too much in which they can't gather all that research, and they're going to slow down because now it's a risk to step forward. So they're actually holding themselves back, they're holding the organization back, and it's an extremely valuable work style. So a great question to make sure that you keep the team moving during changing times is, what resources, information, or data do you need, or would you like more of to do your job? And the interesting thing about this is when organizations have asked this, and then I always come back to see what humans are responding with in these work styles so I can provide you value, is they needed information outside of their organization. So they can walk down the hall or chit chat or send an email within the organization. It's the resources outside of the organization that they actually wanted. So the response to that has been associations and organizations outside of that employer to join. So now they're getting information and details and facts from outside of their organization, but within industry. And now they can start to drive initiatives forward because they have the resources for that job. The other thing that they can do is partner up with other like-minded professionals or groups in that professional field to bounce ideas off of. Because if they're bouncing off ideas off of someone like me, that's a high I, I'm just going with the flow. If everyone wants to go on board with this, let's go. And C's don't want to take that risk. So we're not like-minded in that work style. Putting a C with another C outside of the organization, they understand the data needed, the details and information needed to move forward. So they're going to thrive in their own energy of how to move forward. So that's why that question of, do you have the resources, data, or information to get your job done is going to be important in change management, because where that information and tools are coming from is slowly changing as well. So you might even find a new resource, a new group, a new association to join in which they will have all the tools that they need to continue moving forward. When you look at change management, when you look at workforce energy management, these questions are going to navigate you to deeper discussions, to value-add avenues when you meet people where their natural work style is.
I know you're not lazy. Most people in burnout are high performers, those serving others before themselves. Don't discount this step today, the action in which you focus on your self-growth. Piecing together the puzzle is half the journey. Rediscovering yourself, energy, and establishing new habits is the other. Do not underestimate the untapped inner strength inside you. Explore more resources on my website to move from zombie mode back to liveliness. See you soon.